Yeah, hello and very good afternoon, team. Welcome to Power BI Masterclass from Dwaytech. We are looking into part two of this masterclass. Let's go through a small recap of what we have learned till date. In the first masterclass, we went through a brief introduction to Power BI. We learned about the variants of Power BI. We learned about the versions of Power BI. We learned about the components of Power BI and what is the significance of each component of Power BI. We learned about the desktop edition and the service edition of Power BI. And in further classes, and towards the end of that class, we learned about the dynamic and versatile nature of Power BI and how Power BI has a huge range of connectivity across different resources of data. And in the second class, we were looking at five basic charts of Power BI, how we could load data into Power BI from a data set, considering any particular data set available on the internet or any data set that we are working with. How do we connect that data set with Power BI, and how do we load the data, and how do we extract the data to build three, four, or five different charts. We looked at column charts, stacked column charts. We looked at a funnel chart. We looked at map chart, and we also looked at a market map chart. So we looked at the pie chart and the donut chart. So basic charts of Power BI we have taken a look till date. So since we have brief idea about how basic charts work and the terms like legend, the terms like x-axis, y-axis, and size, so all of the factors, that all of the functionalities that we have to deal with when we are trying to create a chart in Power BI, a basic chart in Power BI, we learned those functionalities. Whereas we all know that a dashboard does not comprise of just one chart. To build a dashboard, we must be able to create multiple functional charts and bring them all together and interconnect them with each other, so that whatever progress that we are trying to observe, whatever patterns that we are studying, if we build an entire dashboard which is functional with the alteration of data, as much as data fluctuates, we must be able to see that all these graphs are showing some variance based on the changes that are happening with the data set. So for that, in future purposes, to build functional and these complex dashboards, knowing these brief or knowing these basic level of charts is not enough. Now we will have to look at one such complex chart that we have to learn. We have to learn multiple complex charts, multiple complex diagrams that we can create in Power BI, so that we can club them all together to make a proper functional and a visually impressive dashboard, which is highly detailed based on the requirement we have. So while creating that kind of dashboard for studying these kind of varying data sets, one of the major complex chart that we come across in Power BI is the map chart with the pie chart in it, right? This is going to be a very interesting topic. Using the same data set that we were working, previously in creating all those basic charts, we will use the same data set, will all the same data points that we considered to create those, the basic map chart or the basic pie chart or the donut chart yesterday. We are going to use the same details, the same data set, and we are going to create another map chart. But the only simple thing is, in this particular map chart, we will have pie chart included with it. So we are going to create a map chart and a pie chart together. How we are going to club these two things together? So since we are clubbing two different charts together, what are the parameters from data that are we considering? What are the attributes or columns that are going to come into play, and how we are going to differentiate each other and know which attributes or which columns are we going to allocate to be analyzed or visualized in the map, and which attributes and columns can we consider to analyze and visualize them in the form of a pie chart. And when they both come together, there must be some common ground for connection. So what is the common ground? How do we go about this particular map and pie chart? Let us look into it. So I'll just open the same blank report and allow me to load the data. And towards the end of this class, there is going to be a very interesting map chart that we are going to do as part of exercise. So there is a particular data set, not the data set that we are working on right now. There is a data set that we have built at Dwaytech here, a basic data set. So that this is a data set that we have. It's an imaginary or a fictional data set that we have built, denoting the population of India. Just so that, while we are creating these maps, creating a map related to India would be a fun exercise, right? It would be good for you to practice also. So maybe in the description or somewhere in the comments, we'll just let you know how you can access this particular data set. you'll be able to download and load that file. So while you are practicing with the global superstore data set, we'll just drop this India population data set also with it, just for the purpose of practicing the map data set and the filled map data set. You just try to work your way around through that data set. So based on India, it'll be a very basic data set just for practice purpose. Why don't you build an India map on that? So we'll approach to that towards the end, whereas now we'll just start with what we came here for. As the first step, I'll load the data. Just like a revision, I'm just going to show you how do we load data into Power BI. This is the option that is present on the home screen always. Go to the get data, click on Excel workbook. So since we are dealing with the Excel based data set, we will be selecting Excel. So whatever data set or whatever format it may be, all those formats can be connected with Power BI. You'll just have to open the entire list and select the format or the file type in which your data set is saved as, right? Global superstore. I'm just loading global score. It will take a minute to load the data set. Let it get loaded. Once it's loaded, we can start with our tree and pie chart map. So we'll be working with the order sheet only today also. Which sheets we will be working further, we'll just look into it. Since we are still learning about different charts, complex and basic charts, we'll just deal with one sheet itself. So towards the end, while we are approaching to build a full-fledged dashboard, then we will consider the other sheets also. As of now, we'll just use one sheet of the data set. I'm sorry, just confirming. Yeah. So I'm going to drag this to the center of the screen. This is a map chart. No, why not? We'll start from the beginning. We'll just all the data that we have. I'm just going to expand the data pane. Just a quick revision. The three panes which are visible on the home screen are the filter pane, visualization pane, and the data pane. Expanding the data pane, we can get a clear look about all the attributes or columns that we have in our particular data set. So we'll be working on the map. I'll double click on the map chart. It'll appear. I'm going to minimize the filter pane. I'll drag this to the center of the screen, expand it for vision. So when we go to the filter pane, in the visualization pane, when we drag down to filters, so we were dealing with different locations yesterday. Today, let us deal with the states or cities within a particular country. So I'm going to demonstrate the include and exclude function. And I'm also going to demonstrate the complex pie and map chart. So to denote for which location we are going to look at this entire map for. So we have countries in our data set, we have cities, we have regions in our data set. So in the location attribute, to which locations to be concentrated on the map, we'll have to select some location in our data set. So in this, I'm going to select either cities or let's say states. I'll go with states since we are, we have USA, Canada, Europe, we have different, sectors. I'm going to select state or maybe even country is an option. Let us go with country. I'll drag down country into the location pane, right? So whichever country the global superstore has made sales to will be displayed here. So I'll just try to zoom in here. I'll maximize the view so you can have a clear look. So this is the basic map chart, right? Here we know that we have been dealing with North America, South America, Africa, throughout Europe, South Asia, North Asia, Russia, and even Australia also. So before we go ahead with creating further changes, I thought I had told you about few functions called as include and exclude, right? So let us say I don't want to deal with all the states here in America, all the countries in North America and South American continent, and I don't want to deal with all the countries in European and the Asian continent and even in the Australian continent. I just want to analyze the data which is present in the African continent. Of course, if you have worked with Excel, you can easily go and you can type a simple formula like where continent name is equals to Africa, select that only. exclude the rest. You can write a simple code for this in Excel, and in SQL you can write a proper query, right? Select from where conditions. If you have used Excel and SQL in the past, you would have known about these particular queries and formulas that you write in Excel and SQL to include or exclude a certain amount of data. Whereas Power BI is so user friendly, the user interface and the user experience is so well. So when you have to perform such a function, you generally type it, you execute that function technically. Whereas here you can execute that function visually, right? You need not know any codes, you need not memorize certain formula to handle that function or to execute that function. How we are going to do, I'll give you a very simple trick. You're going to press control and you're going to select the entirety of North America and South American continent, which means all the sales or all the cities, all the countries that have been marked on the North American and South American continent will be selected. As soon as you select, you can go, all the bubbles represent one country, right? Right click on any one particular bubble so that all those selected countries will be selected under that, and you're going to perform some function. So I'm going to press right click and I'm going to press exclude, which means I want the map to show countries which are involved in the sales with Global Superstore, but I don't want the details of the countries which lie in the North American and the South American continent. So I've just excluded them. And right now, let us say we'll just focus on one particular continent here so that we can perform more operations in a less complex way. So I'm going to exclude the north and southern part of Europe also. I selected all the countries in that particular group and I'm going to press exclude. So right now we have only the countries in the African continent. So Northeastern Africa also let me exclude, right? A few countries in the Northeastern Africa, I'm going to exclude them. And now all the countries in the Asian and the Australian continent also I'm going to exclude. So pressing control and selecting them properly is very essential. Yeah. So this is include, just in case you want to include any one other country, you can go back, you can press it back and you can start including, right? So now we have Africa in the center focus. So we have the African continent and all the countries that have made sales with the Global Superstore are mentioned. So we have Morocco, we have Algeria, we have Nigeria, we have Sudan. So all the African countries, almost every country in Africa except a few countries like Sudan or Saudi Arabia or Yemen, have not made any sales with the Superstore, right? This is the basic map chart that we were dealing with yesterday. Now, I'll see if I can. There was one country in Australia, right, which were also involved, but we'll exclude all of those. Right now, we'll just focus on the African continent. All of these dots are symbolizing or representing the countries which have made sales to the Global Superstore. We have other attributes like legend and latitude here. In place of legend, if you scroll down, you see another attribute when it comes to map chart. It is called as bubble size. So each bubble represents a country, but we can also alter or vary the bubble size based on our requirement. For instance, I will drag and drop the sales attribute into bubble size. So each country is represented by a bubble, but the size of the bubble represents the amount of sales that the country has made. Let's say a particular country has made, the Global Superstore has made the biggest sale with this particular country in the African continent, then that particular country will have the biggest bubble to represent it. Let's say a country which has made the least amount of sales will have the smallest dot on the map representing it, right? So I'm going to drag sales and I'm going to drop it in bubble size. Yeah. Now, based on this, can you guess which country has made the highest number of sales? If you can see, I'll just take the mouse. I'll just go drop it on the biggest bubble. See, these three bubbles, Morocco and the Republic of Congo and South Africa, they look very similar in size. Just looking at the size, we might not be able to guess which has made, the highest number of sales at Global Superstore. It might look very, similar. So might have a very a minute difference in the numbers. Morocco might have 12,000 of sales, whereas Congo might have made 12,500. Just for a difference of 500 units or dollars, the variance in the shape or the size of the circle or the dot would be very minimal. So looking at the shape and guessing, I know we are not that geometrically or ergonomically advanced so that we can just look at it. At least I am not that geometrically advanced, or my sixth sense regarding geometric is not very advanced so that I can guess the number based on the size. So what I'll do is I'll just drag my mouse, leave my cursor on the circle. It says it has made 87,000 sales, right? Sum of sale. Whereas I leave it on Congo, it has made 87,416. It has made 87,077, right? So Congo has made more number of sales in the global store than the country of Morocco by a very minimal amount. Only 300 units of more sum of sales has been made in the country of Congo compared to Morocco. Now I'll just go drag it down to South Africa, and South Africa is comparatively very high. South Africa has made 94,674 units worth of sales with the global superstore. And of course, comparatively, it is the bigger circle compared to Morocco and Congo. This is it. So this is the basic map chart, and ball, bubble size is one of those parameters which we can use to guess the number of sales. Of course, we can, like we saw about formatting, the font, the formatting the map. We can also, change. We can add labels to these bubbles so that it will represent the sum of sales, the name of the country. But it is going. It will only make it look more messy, right? Rather than this, now we will go into that part where we are going to merge the map chart and the pie chart. How is that? I'm going to demonstrate in a few seconds. So I'll just go here. I know all the countries which have made sales, and I now know which countries have made the highest sales and which country has made the lowest sales. But in all these countries, sales have been made in different categories. I want to know, even with the country with the highest sales and the country with medium sales, which category of products have been, purchased more. What is the highest sale in terms of category in all these countries? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the category attribute, category column, and I'm going to drop it in the legend column. Yeah. See, can you see all the bubbles which are representing the sales in African countries have now turned into pie charts. And a legend is also being displayed in the top left corner, where light blue signifies furniture, dark blue signifies office supplies, and orange or saffron represents technology. So if we look at South Africa, I'll just leave my cursor on the bubble or the mini pie chart that has been created on the map chart. It says the country is Lesotho and the sum of sales is 6,515. It means technology has made the highest number of sales, right? I leave it on South Africa. The category is furniture, 24,700 worth of sales. South Africa, office supplies of 27,000. Again here, technology, 41,348. The same country of Congo, technology has made highest sales, whereas if you compare to furniture, it is 20,000. You compare to office supplies, it is still 25,000. Whereas in technology, Congo has made 41,348 worth rupees of purchases or sales with the global superstore. So this is one way of representing, a pie chart on a map chart, right? So looking at this chart, visually you can guess that in the continent of Africa, which all countries are involved with sales and purchases with the global superstore. Yes, you can guess looking at the map. And can you guess which top 5 or top 4 countries which make the highest number of sales with global superstore? Yes, looking at the bubble sizes, you can guess that also. Again, looking at the map or looking at the chart, can you guess which country in the African continent makes the highest number of sales in terms of technology with the global superstore? Again, you can easily drag down to Congo, and you can see that they're making 41,000 worth of sales. Whereas again, South Africa is also making 6,500 worth of sales, which means that Congo Congo is making second highest number of sales in terms of technology, and South Africa is making 42,000 in terms of technology. So even in which category, which country is making the highest, and in which category, which country is making the least number of sales with the global superstore, this also can be, nearly 8 to 9 questions regarding sales to the African continent can be answered using this my pie and map chart. So there's a pie map chart or a map pie chart. There is no, particular name given to this, but it is, you can call it a map chart with pie annotations on it, right? So this is how you club a map chart and a pie chart. So this is something that you can do on the entire map using all the continents. I just use this as an opportunity to exhibit or the demonstrate the include exclude function. And I just focus on Africa so that you it doesn't become very complex to you. The visual doesn't look very complex to you. So focusing on one continent and keeping countries as the center of base, I could demonstrate all of this for you to see. Now immediately I can look change how it looks. I'll just remove the location constraint. All the filters I had applied also would have vanished by now. So I'll go with city. It is going to get really complex. You see, all the number of cities in Africa that have made the sales. You can see n number of cities, right? So that is there, and I'll just go to the filter, and we have excluded 225 countries, right? So I can remove this particular filter now. I've removed that particular filter. I'm going to zoom out on the map, and just I'm just placing the entire world map on the center here, and now I will add the city column in the location filter. Can you see all the cities in the world to which all this is happening, right? So that is one thing. And in terms of legend, I can remove the category and it'll only show me bubbles now. See, somewhere in North America, we can see in the city of Philadelphia has made the most number of sales with Superstore, because this looks like comparatively the biggest bubble there is on the map. Until and unless we zoom in, we cannot confirm on that. So in legend, I'll just drag and drop segment here. That is one of the things that can be done. So yeah. See, segment wise also you can see the amount of variance. So I'm just going to remove city because there are way too many cities in which the sales have happened, because this is a 51,000 rows data set. So there's a lot of data in this. So I'm going to remove all of it, and I'm going to let's put states now. I think states is one of the attributes where yes, I'm going to drop states in terms of location. Will have equally number of bubbles, but a little less than what we had in terms of city. So I'm going to zoom this part to the United States of America. Yeah, you can see all the states where all the cities where all the sales have happened, all the states. So here you can see that the city of California has made the highest number of sales with the Superstore, and surprisingly, consumer, the general consumer has made more number of purchases here compared to corporates and home offices, right? New York. Even here, the biggest segment is consumer, right? So I can remove segment again, and I can put back a category in here. So like I told you, when you are dealing with the map chart, and if we are dealing with the entire globe, of course, it's going to take time to process. It will take time to process. So that's why I used what do you say, the exclude function to exclude the rest of the world when I was focusing on the African continent, so that you can get a clear picture of this. So this is basically the map and pie chart, where you can club together two charts, and you can answer a lot of questions. A lot of detailing can be given here very simply looking at these dots. You can guess the segment, you can guess the category, you can guess the amount of sales, you can guess the continent, which city has more sales. So n number of questions can be answered. So instead of having two different charts, having a chart like a clubbed in chart like this in your dashboard will save space for you to place more number of other charts and splicers, so that your dashboard will look more impressive and will have a lot more detail than usual, right? So this is the map and pie chart. Do I know for the first listen or the first grasping, this might seem like a lot, or this might seem like something that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Either if it seems even if it seems simple to you, or it might seem complicated to you, I want you to practice this by yourself. Load this data, try to practice by yourself, and you'll get it. So I'm going to end this particular chart here itself. I'll just close this. So I'll open a new window. Like I told you, towards the end of the class, we will be creating an India's map. So there is an India-based data set. I'll just load that one, India. So I'll just demonstrate, what all data fields we have, right? I'm not going to do the entire map chart here. I'll just leave it to you. You can load this particular data set. You can start working on it. So what are the variations that you could exhibit here? What are the functionalities that you could run? Could you do a map and pie chart together? Even if you could do a map and pie chart together, what were the segments that you loaded to it? All of those things, just let me know in the comment section when you work on it. So I'm going to send. See, this is a population of India. So all the states where population of India is distributed, of course, there is population in all the states of India here. So each dot is representing, the population there. So I'm just going to bubble size. We have different components like minors, senior citizen count, and voters count, total population count. Total population count, maybe I'll drop it in bubble size. So it says Uttar Pradesh has the highest population here, according to this particular data set that we have. Of course, I say this details is not very precise here. It is just for the purpose of demonstration and practice. I'll just leave this data set or link to this data set in the description. You can find it there. So maybe we'll see which state has the highest number of minors, maybe. So the state of Uttar Pradesh, the total population is 16,000 and the number of minors is 1,21,000. Yeah, that's it, team. So we are going to end today's session with this by working with the map and pie chart, and this is an Indian map chart also. So I'll leave the data set to you. Kindly practice. So this is I know map and pie might feel like a bit to you, so you can practice on the map and pie chart using our global superstore dataset and the India population dataset. I'm going to leave the link in the description. Kindly download and practice them. And tomorrow we will be looking at, in the next session, we will be looking at matrices. So matrix is a very interesting chart. So it is more like numbers and tables. It is not very visually representative. So next part is a very essential part. So by this, all the graphical charts we are done. We'll be looking at the tabular charts tomorrow in the next session. So meanwhile, in the time you have, practice all these graphical charts that we have worked with, the funnel chart, the pie chart, the donut chart, all the charts that we have worked with till date. Practice on those charts, and the next topic is going to be really interesting. We'll start with matrices tomorrow. Till then, keep practicing and all the best. Thank you so much, team.